All right, let's kick it off, guys. Welcome to the SaaS marketing series. This is a live masterclass. We're live every 2 weeks, and this is both for marketers and for founders. So we're trying to take it back to basics and give you like the core fundamentals of how to grow your SaaS biz through various channels. So context, 8 weeks ago, we had the SaaS signups with YouTube. So we had Lexi and we had Shane Hummus, who was a 700K sub individual. We then had a how to exit your SaaS with SaaS group with Dirk, and that was a super informative session. I think a few companies from that session have now started acquisition talks. They're looking to acquire another SaaS companies. That's super impressive. I then ran a session on SaaS MRR growth with SEOs, talking about bottom funnel lead generation. Had a really cool session last, I want to say 2 weeks ago actually, with Ferry, the #1 digital PR agency in the world, speaking about how to just generate links en masse with amazing data campaigns. And today, lucky enough to be joined with Alexandre. They head up like probably one of the best email marketing agencies in the world on how to convert SaaS signups with email. So like it's got some top dogs here. Context, who am I? Why am I even speaking? I am the head of growth at New Optima. We're a B2B SaaS SEO and PPC agency. So we really focus on demand capture channels. So anywhere where there's existing search for your products, we help you capture that traffic. And we have a bunch of case studies which you can look through at your own free will. But yeah, Masterclass 5, Alex and Andre actually, how to convert SaaS signups into customers with emails. I'm going to leave you in their very capable hands. And then I'm probably going to jump in occasionally and just challenge what they're saying. I've got a bit of email marketing background, but I'm sure they're going to say everything.
Cool, guys. So again, I guess back to intros a little bit because that kind of came and went, and I want to make sure that everybody that's now on board can actually kind of know who we are and why we're even talking. Met Alex roughly 10 years ago, feels like at least. And, between the two of us, we've got a couple of decades worth of combined experience working in the email marketing space. We've been doing this basically our entire professional lives for brands of all sizes and for different types of companies as well, right? So it's not just SaaS businesses, although we've been seeing this cohort grow quite a bit in the last couple of years here. And we also have a couple of fun call outs for kind of trends that we've seen happening within the industry that you guys need to be paying some attention towards and make sure that you don't make the same mistakes, basically. But late 2018, with a third co-founder, we decided to co-found Code Crew. Fast forward a short 5 years. It's incredible how fast that time passed. We are now a team of roughly 40. We do email marketing all day, every day. This is basically our bread and butter. So email, SMS, loyalty, that's pretty much all we do, all we dabble in. And we see a lot of value in being experts in one single thing rather than try to kind of do a hack job at multiple things. So, the way we usually like to approach every single email program, including those for you guys as well, and this is already jumping into advice and how to get started, basically. But it's by making sure that you understand the 360-degree subscriber lifetime journey, right? It's so important to make sure that you touch every single part of that life cycle and constantly iterate on different ways to not only capture those contacts in your funnel, but then how do you actually kind of usher them through the funnel all the way to converting. Now, with this in mind, there are a few short, quick snippets about how to get started. So I'm sure you guys, some of you might have already gotten started. Some of you might be a bit newer to all of these, but a quick few questions, I guess, for us to tick off. What would be the best time to start your email marketing? As soon as possible. I'm sure you've read the stats, but we see an ROI of 44x on email marketing as a channel. So definitely something you don't want to be missing out on. What should you be knowing? There's a lot, and email is an extremely vast domain. It doesn't ever cease to surprise me how overcomplicated it can sometimes get if you run into trouble. And that's very often where experts are being brought in, because before that step, everybody kind of thinks that with a drag and drop builder and a list, they can rule the world. It's unfortunately not as easy as that, but it can feel like that sometimes. So what matters? Strategy is really important. Deliverability is extremely important as well, and we're going to talk about that. Design, we found design to be really transformational. segmentation, automations, the list goes on and on and on. What ESP should you guys choose if you don't already have one? You know, the discussion is pretty broad here. We are agnostic and fluent in over 60 of them, and I can tell you that there are ESPs out there that are fantastic, some of them that are decent, and then a bunch, way too many, that are absolute junk. So it's really important to make sure that you make the right selection. It's not always dictated by how expensive or inexpensive they are either. So you guys, if you need any expertise, any advice on any of these, just feel free to reach out to us, and we're more than happy to lend some thoughts. And it can even vary between your list size, your data points, what are you planning to achieve between two different strong options. One of them can be really what you need, and the other one might really kind of shoot yourselves in the leg or under deliver on your expectations. And the last one that's kind of important for this how to get started phase, how do you grow your email list size, right? And there are a few methods, both good and bad, as well as straight up illegal. I'm going to focus a bit on the illegal side of things here, because unfortunately we are seeing some trends in the SaaS space that we want to nip in the bud as soon as possible. And, you know, just start by leveraging your site traffic, your social platforms, partnerships, giveaways, promotions, anything like that. Now, on the slightly illegal side of components, why we even bring that up, unfortunately, as I've mentioned, some of the partners that we've been working with throughout the last couple of years in your space specifically, kind of want to make sure that they hit the ground running, but not running at 150 miles an hour, right? So it's so important to understand that email doesn't really work that way. Much like SEO, it takes some time to build up to those types of volumes and those types of ROI percentiles, really, as well, from a revenue point of view. So what first and foremost we want to say is, please don't buy any lists. I know that there will be a lot of businesses, a lot of vendors out there that will want your money for what they call curated high quality email lists. With an experience of 10 years doing this for so many brands, we have not even once seen one of these lists be successful. Usually one of two things happen. You either email them, don't get into trouble, but don't get money, or email them, do get into trouble and don't make money. So at the end of the day, you're still not going to make money. You're going to lose on that expense for the email list that you've just bought. But then you also run the risk of some pretty significant deliverability issues that could even impact your business for years to come if you're sending DNS records and the back end of what you're sending domains represent is not set up in a way where you can kind of rinse all of the bad out of the company really fast and move to a different type of sending domain. So again, just a high level recommendation, try to build your list organically or through heavy promotions, not by trying to acquire companies. Now, you know, when it comes down to email, the most important thing that every single company should be focusing on is really automating their lead nurture flows, and there's a lot to think about, right? So our biggest call out here is not to spend time and really to think about your customer support time as well, because that's money that you're pouring in that channel to support your customers, when a lot of it can be automated, a lot of it can be turned into flows and really made less redundant. So we highly advise you to look at that and look at how you can create a much easier flowing journey for your customers, right? So the way we usually look at things is kind of by starting at a point where we kind of understand what's going on, but then it's really important to dive under the hood of any business as well, right? So for example, we go from kind of lead capture to, okay, we now have this email address. How do we nurture them? We start nurturing. Then they are nurtured enough to eventually commit to a discovery phase. We nurture that discovery. They become a conversion. They become a paying customer. And then from there, we really want to understand, first off, how do we onboard that customer? If the process is a bit more complicated, we want to ensure that their onboarding phase is really easy so that they can really feel free to kind of upsell with us and maybe go to the annual plan or maybe add something else to their subscription. And then from there, it's really about not only retaining that customer and making sure that you have that retention in mind, but also how do you get testimonials from them? How do you get them to really advocate for your brand? All of these are things that we kind of think through, but it's also very, very high level. And, I always love giving this e-commerce example as well, where, for instance, if we jump into an e-commerce that's selling shoes that cost $100, it's not the same as one of our past clients, Oru Kayak, who's selling 2.5K kayak packages, right? It's not the same purchase. It requires complete different psychology on the buyer side of things. And so you need to tailor everything around that sort of ideation, and you need to actually come up with proper solutions for that one case scenario. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Alex here to walk you guys through a couple of flow examples.
Thanks, Trey.
By the way,
And
if you guys want to send us some questions or you have a chance, feel free to drop them in as we go along.
please do. There's, we've been in the industry for so long that, we think we know everything. That being said, if we're not grilled every day, who's to say that we aren't getting challenged and making, steps forward. So yeah, Trey, thanks for that. Aman, thanks for that as well. As far as, a little bit of what we're going to dive into. So, an email program is this massive beast. There's a lot going on. There are campaigns, there's the deliverability component, a lot going on behind the scenes as well. There are also flows. We speak with tons of companies every single day, lots of leads, always asking us, hey, how can I improve my program as quickly as possible? Usually flows are going to be the way to do it. Campaigns, there's definitely a time and a place for that, and we strongly recommend having a good cadence for this. But with that being said, flows are going to be sending off way more often. At the end of the day, you're going to have a lot more messages going out to people that are automated versus one-off. So, Aman,
Maybe
looks like you want to
can
say
you give
something.
some more context on what's the difference between a flow and a campaign? I find a lot of people are always
Happy to.
surprised.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and actually that's you bring up something great as well in that we use a little bit different terminology than some other email audiences out there. When I speak about a campaign, it's a one-off email. It's a blast is what a lot of people call them. So that's the email that you have a dedicated list or segment that you're gonna go ahead and just yeet an email off to. And that's usually something like a sale, like a promotion, like a time-sensitive event. It's something that's going to go out once ever, to a predetermined list of you're choosing. For a campaign, you want to make sure, or sorry, a blast, you want to make sure that you're sending something that's very specific to that point in time and that audience at that point in time as well. For a flow, also known as an automation, workflow is the full name. This is something that's triggered. It's usually event-based off of some sort of event, I guess, that someone takes on your website or throughout the process. For this one in particular, we're going to dive a little bit into the how you can use automations or workflows to go ahead and help take a little bit of time back in the day for your CS team, or for you if you're a small company, or you're scrappy, you're just getting started, you're still handling a lot of customer support. The flow for customer support can actually help you a ton. So we see, and we've actually worked with plenty of companies in the past who use Zendesk, who use whatever other platform to go ahead and deal with customer inquiries. It's a huge load. Usually a very simple questions that could be answered, with just sending them to the right place. So if we go to the next slide, I think it is, if my mouse works, we kind of dive into what a few of these touches are going to look like for a customer support flow. So for the first touch, usually what you want to do is just point them to the right place, give them any information that they can have to, as the old saying goes, teach a man to fish, they can feed themselves for forever. You fish for them, you'll just feed them for a day. So with this first touch, if you get an inquiry of any kind, you can go ahead and just say, hey, here's where to find that information, here's how to get it figured out. Touch 2 usually goes onto that and kind of tacks on a little bit more info of, hey, how you can help yourself, how you can avoid asking a question that's probably been answered by our support team before, and probably been asked by hundreds, if not thousands of other people. So yeah, customer support flow, really more than anything else, brings time back in your day. And then the benefit to the customer is that, hey, they figure it out on their own. They don't have to ask you guys questions. They don't have to be waiting on you either to go ahead and figure out what the solution is to their problem. So that's something that can save you a lot of time back in the day. Highly recommend it, especially for a SaaS company. there's so much to learn. Honestly, we know we're working with a few platforms that I'm mid-30s, but I feel like an old man with their their customer support flow. I've learned so much more than I ever would have if I was pinging people relentlessly. And sorry, Andre, I know I've been pinging you relentlessly as well. So yeah, it's very, very much worthwhile. Another flow that we often see being hugely helpful for really any company. This could be e-com, this could be SaaS, any business that has an online presence is a lead nurture flow. In the e-com space, we usually can call it a welcome flow. Again, that's just internal terminology as well. So lead nurture flow, it's just a great way to, for anyone who signs up on Onboarding your website or wherever you may have a pop-up, give them a little bit more insight into who you are, what you do. I know, just further their knowledge of your platform and program. So if we go on to the next slide, we can go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into what this would actually look like. Thanks, Trey. Yeah, so here we have, I believe, an e-com example, but again, a lot of this actually does apply to SaaS as well. With touch 1 of this welcome flow, you want to say hello, you want to introduce your brand, really start off strong, and in all honesty, this is probably one of the most delivered touches you'll ever have in the email program. So you want to make sure you're doing it right. With this example, we have Knifeaid, who's been a client of ours for, I don't know, 5-6 years, long time. They were on Shark Tank. Really cool company, actually. You should give them a go if your knives aren't sharp. Quick plug there. But what they're doing with their first touch is giving a discount. This isn't always necessary. We do often see this working really well. But if you go ahead and give discounts, you want to make sure that you're also adding value on top of that. You don't just want the customer to come in, say, hey, I got my 10% off. I'm going to sharpen my knives, do this once, never come back. You want them to be much more involved in your platform or in your business and with your service as well. So more than just that, giving the discounts, you want to give them more insight into who you are, any sort of value add that you can provide. So for Knifeaid here, we have fun facts. They're really fun, just lighthearted brand. So actually, another small plug, you should sign up for their emails if you haven't already. Every Halloween, they have just the funniest email I've ever seen. So stay tuned for that. Sign up and enjoy. But going back into what we're talking about here, again, add value. Your brand is something unique and special. You need to make sure that your customer knows that. How better to do that? Where better to do that? Welcome flow. That's where you'll really want to drive that home. Cool. Last but not least, well, at least as far as listening to me ramble on is concerned, we have the onboarding flow. So this is also something that we usually call post-purchase flow. Again, terminology doesn't really matter that much. What this is for anyone who's a customer, how you can go ahead and make sure that, again, you're showing value to them, adding value at every touch point. And here, we want to make sure that we're retaining that customer, giving them more reason to keep coming back, giving them more reason to maybe get on a higher tier. So what you want to include in a flow like this, or in this particular flow, is first, thank them. It's always good to thank people. People try hard. People do a lot of stuff to become, or take a lot of steps to become part of your program. I'm sure that there are competitors in your space. It's rare not to see one. Thank them for choosing your service. It's just a very personable thing to do. At the end of the day, everyone wants to feel special, appreciated, and there's no better way to do that than just a simple thank you. Next, after they've onboarded, after they've purchased into your platform, again, show them how to use it. More often than not, they probably don't understand the full benefits that you have to offer. So if you can go ahead and give them any pro tips, any tips and tricks, any sort of value, it'll be appreciated. Sure, they won't reply to you, but they'll thank you as well in return. Yeah, that's hopefully been helpful.
Cool.
Sure, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, and guys, I'm gonna step in here and just take a step back first, because I want to bring a clarification when it comes down to campaigns and flows. I feel like a lot of brands get really confused about those two. So we never recommend just doing one or just doing the other. They work hand in hand, and really you kind of use campaigns to trigger flows very, very often within your life cycle. So there are two parts, or yeah, basically two wheels that drive the front end of your car. If you want to kind of phrase things that way, you're not going to be able to just to turn if just a single wheel does the job. So you need both of them. I definitely encourage you to think about different strategies through which, first off, to Alex's point, you can use those one-off sends to garner interest, to announce launches, to announce different discounts, and anything really that comes to mind. And then use the flows for different triggers that are website based, that are gonna really be bringing to light either people that would be browsing on your website, would be abandoning carts, would be abandoning different products, would be abandoning the browse session itself, or would be just on the app trying to achieve different things. We have that trigger. We know exactly what they're doing. We know if they're hitting any roadblock, and then there goes an email, right? So to kind of add another layer to what Alex was explaining with the customer service flow, if you guys kind of see that a lot of people within your app are struggling to go past this one step, that's a trigger right there, right? That person goes to that step, struggles to continue and progress to the next one, an email gets triggered, and within 5 minutes it's in their inbox, chock full of information, so that they don't end up reaching out to you asking for your time. You reach out to them with exactly the type of information they might be needing. Now, that's one of the examples, obviously, but there's a ton of work that you could do around just figuring out your life cycle, right? So a very important part of the life cycle is how do you actually nurture the discovery phase. And this part is probably one of the most important ones, because you want to make sure that your customer feels like you really care about them, especially if we're not talking about a service where it's a $10-15 a month subscription. If it's something a little bit more significant than that, you definitely want to be nurturing this discovery phase a lot more, and make sure that as they discover kind of the next steps with you guys, you not only explain to them what are the steps that you're currently undertaking and paint a picture of what next steps are going to look like, but also explain that you're taking the time to craft a service plan if you're crafting these custom to every single client that you're working with, right? As part of this same step, expectations are extremely important. Now, I myself stress this every single month in our team meetings with our coordinators. As soon as a client does the gnarly thing of putting in their credit card information, they're expecting things. They're expecting items to be delivered on their doorstep immediately. And very often those expectations are even a bit outrageous in terms of deadlines. So that's why it's so important to over communicate and tell them what they should be expecting from your end. And we do this just to again add another layer to how you guys should be interpreting this information. We do this both in the sales stage as well as in calls, and then via emails, as well as soon as the client signs the contract, we have a whole bunch of emails triggering with further information on what they should be expecting from our team, what the different timelines are going to be looking like, who is their team going to be. And it's just a fantastic way to calm any nerves in case you are selling a bit of a higher ticket item. If it's the lower ticket items, it's still incredibly important to nurture this discovery phase, because very often we found that it's make or break those first couple of days of somebody trying to understand the platform a bit better after paying for it. Oftentimes leads to that customer either remaining subscribed for months to come, or deciding that they want to go and explore what a competitor app would be able to deliver for them, right? And yeah, with that, Alex, if you want to kind of put a bow on automations as a whole and some of our work.
Yeah, so what kind of marketers would we be if we didn't have a plug for ourselves at the end, right? We might not be presenters, but we're email nerds through and through, as the first slide, went ahead and said. I gotta admit, there's so much more to an email marketing program than just the few things that we've very lightly touched on today. Automations are a huge part of that. So yeah, go ahead and give us an email, chat with us. If you have any questions whatsoever, we'll have a good bit of time after this call or after this slide to go ahead and answer questions as well. But yeah, we've been around the block. We know what we're doing. We have a bunch of case studies on our website that I'd love for you guys to read. If it's 2 a.m, on a Friday morning and and you have nothing better to do with yourself, go ahead and enjoy some late night reading. Yeah, guys, it's been a pleasure talking at you, I guess, not really talking to you, but I love to hear from everyone. Any questions you have, go ahead and shoot them through, and we're happy to answer them. I can go ahead and get started
Yeah,
with you, Tim.
Yeah,
Does that
maybe
work?
I can moderate it to like create a bit of flow.
sounds good.
But it's like, yeah, so Tim, what email automation software do you guys use? Like that's a great question. I think I've used like four in my time, and there are so many nuances between what's good and what's bad for e-com versus SaaS versus info. Like it's a minefield. Like, what's your guys' take on that?
Oh, how much time do you guys have? Fun aside, as Andre said earlier, we've worked in at least 60 different platforms, and I feel like every year we're seeing another 10, 15, 20 coming through. A few have remained, real champions, always keeping ahead of the curve. I'd say, and I'm sure everyone on this call has heard this one, Klaviyo is, very much known for being cost efficient as well as just packed with features. And we've been working with them since oh God, back in the day when you could talk to the CEO and just ask a random question. And now I think they just IPO'd a few months ago. And we recommend that for sure. It depends on your use case too, though. I mean, Iterable is a fantastic platform, especially if you have just tons and tons and tons of data. That's really a champion as well. I'd stay away from
Which one was that?
MailChimp.
Sorry, you say it? What was it? Iterable?
Iterable,
Yep.
yeah, Iterable. It's a fantastic
So,
one as
I
well.
mean, like that's interesting. So that they have lots of data. So, would you say, by data, what do you mean? But do you mean like lots of triggers coming in, lots of actions happening on a SaaS
You
tool? Like,
know, the
contextualize
example
that.
I really enjoy
Everything.
giving clients to
Go for it.
put it into perspective is, that if you have the amount of data points that DoorDash has, for instance, which is an account we've managed within Iterable, you have no place being in Klaviyo. Like you need to be in Iterable because, the number of restaurants, the number of customers, the number of locales, and all of that data needing to somehow flow together in an email marketing program that's well built and can actually send everybody the type of content that they need. You need a juggernaut like that that's going to be able to use all of those data points and really enable your team to then kind of utilize the information, your team meaning either internal or your agency, to utilize that information and build smart code within every single email so that everybody subscribed to your email gets that one specialized particular email based on their location, based on their preferences, based on, right? And yeah, Lex, if you want to grab George, and I can grab the DoorDash one after. So
Sure,
for
sounds good.
George,
So
how efficient is email marketing today compared to 10 years ago? Crazy.
that's a walk down memory lane. It's a good and a bad walk. So personally, I gotta say it was probably more efficient back in the day. That's my personal take because the ESPs, the platforms that we used were so much simpler. It had only what you needed, nothing else. I mean, as you'll see, honestly, even with Klaviyo, who's probably still one of the best out there, they've transitioned themselves more to a CDP. So, email is still part of the offering, but that being said, it's a much smaller part of the offering than it was before. It used to be the entire offering, very, very finely focused on email, and now it's, I wouldn't say an afterthought, but it's not nearly as much of a main point to them. That being said, again, it probably was a lot simpler and just more efficient back in the day because there were less laws. I hate to say it, but there was a lot less that we had, a lot less hoops to jump through. The inboxes didn't have as many issues for us, obstacles, I guess you could say, as they do nowadays too. I mean, there's the promotions tab, the socials tab. These didn't exist back when we were started. It was still back like HTML1 way back in the day.
And
Very, very
guys,
basic, and that allowed for efficiency. Sorry,
you could
go
tell
ahead.
that Alex is such a data nerd and wants to give you the data aspect of things. George, if your question was more on the ROI and revenue side of things, I would say more efficient now than then because back then, and this is it feels a bit upside down actually, but it's the way it is, right? So we actually are seeing customer acquisition costs come up for our clients sometimes on the monthly or even the weekly, right? We meet with our clients and they report back to us that their CAC is going through the roof. And then with email, you've got no added cost, right? So unless your agency is raking costs, or unless your ESP is in the same hiking costs, and your ESP is in the same kind of ballpark, you're gonna always spend the same, but you have that first party data that nobody can get away from you, can take away from you, right? So you can monetize that as much as you can, as long as you have proper strategies. And to give you more context, I guess more of an oomph here, we see a lot of our client accounts be able to rake in between 22-25% all the way up to 47-50% of their overall revenues from email. So email is a fantastic tool. As long as you build everything that needs to be built within the email program, you're gonna be good as gold. Now, Tim, with regards to your question on DoorDash data points and tag based and all of that, unfortunately, we can't dive into too many details on that account. You as you would imagine. What I can say is that we are really in love with the idea of segmentation. And I'm gonna walk away from the DoorDash account because it feels like too hot of an account to talk to or about. So to give you an example here, we used to be working with this company that was selling CBD for all sorts of different things, and they had human CBD between gummies, smokables, drinkables, edibles, you name it. Then they had oils, they had all sorts of different things that you were applying on your body. They had pet CBD, they had horse CBD. So there was a lot of data going on within that account as well. So as you can imagine, segmentation comes in really, really well. And the same one email that's 30% discount would give you 30% discount for the horse CBD, and then 30% discount for the gummies if you were a gummies buyer, right? So it's so important. You can do it tag-based and then really segment off of those tags and make sure that you have a couple of select segments that you're talking to with the messages that you're sending out. Very often, for instance, to give a proper example here, within Klaviyo, for instance, and within Iterable, it's basically the same thing, but to a more geeky, more data-driven extent. If I step into Alex's kind of profile and he's subscribed to a company, I'm not going to say DoorDash, you're going to see everything he's done, right? From purchase history to how often he's viewed the website to when he subscribed, how he subscribed. It mostly looks like a CRM, and I know you guys all use CRM, so you're used to that kind of thing. And then based off of those profile properties, you can then customize a lot within the email flow so that every single one of those emails that land in the inbox are specific. Hopefully, this answers the question, although I know it was a little bit long-winded. And yeah, let us know if you have any other follow-up, guys.
When it comes to, I know you showed some workflows over there. Have you used any workflows designed specifically to capture more revenue from existing customers? Like, let's say they've just bought from you. Like, what are the types of flows that you can do to like immediately increase that customer's lifetime value without having to wait for, let's say, the next month for that purchase to happen again?
In some instances, right after one thing you can do if you have a lower priced offering that is available, you can go ahead and trigger based off of purchase of just that offering itself. Have an immediate follow-up if you'd like. Some success, some not. So I'd say it's up to you to test it. You can have an immediate upsell email go out to them, say, hey, I noticed you purchased this. This is a great add-on that a lot of people, tend to like. I'd say more often than not, it is successful. That being said, it's really business by business dependent. So try it with caution if you do go with this approach. Honestly, I've seen some instances where people just get a little frustrated. They send a message to the customer support. That's where your CS flow comes into play, guys. And just helps get any potential frustration out of the way. That being said, again, more often than not, I'd say that that's a successful strategy, and it is something that can be trigger based with a workflow. So yeah, try it at your own risk. It's probably going to do you well.
Yeah,
Nice.
a good actual example about that, Taman, we've been working with this company called Diaper for the longest time. You guys are never gonna guess what they sell. It's not in the name. And basically, when you make a subscription for a diaper pack, you immediately get upsold for one-time purchases that are just incredibly discounted, right? So what we ended up doing was pretty much preloading 6 or 8 months worth of diapers onto these brand new parents as soon as we were getting them, right? Because at the end of the day, those parents are gonna need the diapers. It's not like they think about it next month and maybe they don't really make that purchase. It's not an optional, it's not a commodity. It is a commodity, so you need it. And then you ultimately build up this desire for them to stock up. This is also something that you can then translate into the SaaS world through things like making sure that they unlock different benefits on their plan as soon as they start utilizing them. And we've seen this for many of our past clients as well, where once they get that initial $15 subscriber, they then try to tack another $15-30 worth of added packages or added features or added this and that onto their account.
Interesting. I've also that's super good in that front because it's like a very quick way to just quickly win back that rev. I found on the other side, like I said, I got super frustrated with ConvertKit. Like I use ConvertKit for my own personal email list, and I get asked like every month, upsell to the annual subscription, get 2 months free. I'm like, yeah, I got the offer last month. I don't want it anymore. I didn't want it then. I don't want it now. But every month I still get pushed that offer. I guess that's like an element of probably someone's flow misfiring and not realizing I just don't want that offer. But they're gonna keep giving me that flow because no one's put like the time lag big enough on it.
Yeah, they do need to figure out a filter there. It's an easy solution, but unfortunately, a lot of folks forget about it. Tim, that's a really interesting use case, the one that you bring up, and I'm gonna throw this bus deviated Alex's way with regards to the example because no certain examples come to mind. But I can feel the pain of what you're going through right there. I think what I would recommend doing is just on the tech side of things, make sure that no one single user can create multiple free accounts with multiple email addresses just because they have 150 Gmail accounts that they've forgotten about, right? So maybe the Mac ID or maybe something like that comes into play to actually stop these customers from being able to create duplicate accounts and use it for a freemium indefinitely until they run out of ideas for new email addresses. And on top of that, it's definitely a challenge. I think you should start, however, with setting the foundation of making sure that you reach out to these customers with proper information and proper conversion related messaging, and really trying your best to push as many of them through the entire funnel all the way to converting as soon as you can once they've subscribed. I think that initial period is going to be really important for you guys. And it really kind of plays into strategy. When you have too many emails, the one cost that really adds up is not necessarily the agency one, but the email sending platform one. So that's something that you constantly need to keep on top of and need to kind of curate and make sure that you're only talking to customers that are active and interested and engaged. Now, on the difference of hiring a dedicated email marketer versus working with an email agency, we get this question asked a million times, and the answer is pretty much always the same one, right? You can get the best one single person on the planet you're going to be able to find. They're not going to be able to be the best content writer, the best strategist, the best designer, and the best email coder all in one. Or if they will, they're going to cost a lot more than an agency would anyway, right? So my advice would be to look at the agencies as a cohort of 40 plus people that have expertise in their specific channel, and every single one of those individuals spends their entire day, every day, focusing on that one thing, right? So it's one thing for the agency not to focus on both SEO as well as PPC, as well as email, as well as this other thing. But then if you think about the true kind of granularity within our agency, where every single individual does one job and does it to perfection every single day, that's kind of how you get the best of the best, right? Because those guys don't spend time trying to understand how to build, I don't know, social media banners in Canva and do a hack job at it. They spend time reading up on the latest best trends with regards to strategy, what other brands are doing, comparing, analyzing, doing a lot of competitive analysis as well with your guys' competitors. So there's a lot that goes behind the scenes when it comes down to building these email programs to be as successful as they are. And I don't think a single hire would be able to either have the skills or the time to cover all of that, if I'm being completely honest. And Alex, did we ever work with a freemium SaaS? I know we did a bunch of freemium related kind of flows, and I can give a couple of examples, but they're not a SaaS, so I wanted to give that a shout first.
You know, I hate to say it, but nothing's coming to mind. We have worked with quite a few. Just the mind is not working as
Yeah. So we can rack our brains and follow up with you after the call, team. But the one example that comes to mind was this D2C brand that was selling basically flooring that you could put on the wall. I know it sounds crazy, but it was actually cool. Basically wood planks that you were putting on the wall. And one of the initiatives we had was to start giving away samples. And then we had a whole strategy around being able to order those samples and then being able to extrapolate a full email program from that and get the purchase. So while I understand it's not exactly the same, a better example, unfortunately, doesn't come up at this very moment. For you guys, I bet Discord is probably a really important platform to talk to those freemium users as well. And again, just think about how you could use all of these different platforms, all of these different ways of communicating to bring all of that together and to really give the users less interest in duplicating accounts and less possibility as well, if you can figure it out on the tech side of things, and then kind of make it cooler for them to have one account and that account to have all of the data and that account to have all of the prowess of them playing the game and enjoying and going higher up the leaderboard, I guess, if it's that kind of a game. I'm a competitive type, if you couldn't tell.
Nice. I'm gonna drop Andre's email in, Tim. I think you probably drop him an email. I think there's like even more nuance to probably Andre's answers that he probably could never cover in like the next 5 minutes. But just drop him an email as well, because I think there's a bunch you can go through with him. In terms of age-old question, text-based, image-based, like what's your thoughts on that? By the way, Andre, you're sharing your screen. Yeah. But wait, what's your thoughts on like image-based versus text-based?
You know, there's a time and a place for both. Really, if you're going to be using text-based, which we don't recommend doing a ton of, in all honesty, it's taking us back to the 10 years ago question from earlier. It's not something you see that often. That being said, again, it does show value in certain steps of your communication with the client. More often than not, I'd really keep these in a holster until there's a message from the founder, which needs to come off as much more personable, or any sort of new news update that needs to feel very much one-to-one personalized. You're not trying to push anything, you're just trying to add pure value in that single message. So again, text-based probably wouldn't do too often. People are used to seeing something pretty, something designed in the inbox. The prettier the better. It's got to be enticing, eye-catching. There's color psychology that plays into a lot of what email entails as well. So yeah, more often than not, I'd say keep it beautiful. That being said, to go a little bit off track with your question, there is a text to image ratio that you need to keep aware of as well. If you have too many images, if you're just selecting images from, Photopea, Paint, whatever people use nowadays, kidding, and you just throw them into a template, you're going to have a high likelihood of landing, not necessarily where you want to be, not the inbox. So text image ratio, very important. And that's one reason why we code every single email as, full HTML, make sure it's actually done right.
Yeah, and one other call out with regards to this, it's actually funny that I was talking to the team about this for one specific client a bit earlier today. You guys need to think about what type of industry you're in, and if that industry is prone to spam. If that industry is prone to spam, plain text would probably be an even worse idea than usual. We do sometimes deploy plain text emails, again, strategically for some of our clients, but this client in particular is in an industry that's incredibly prone to spam, as well as just not even spam, as well as people trying to kind of fake those accounts and trying to get different funds from you and all of that. Phishing, I'm not even sure what it's fully legitimately named, but basically you don't want to be sending a plain text email in an industry that's already very, very skeptical about everything they're receiving. So be very careful about that if you're in one of those types of industries. And just going back to the gaming industry, I know that's quite loaded very often with all sorts of different landmines. So it's important to navigate properly when it comes down to some of these strategies.
Sweet. Awesome. And then final question from me. So like most SaaS companies on this call probably have a lot of data, maybe not as much as Tim, but they all have a lot of data. And it's probably in a database somewhere. And they probably don't know what triggers are actually valuable for consumers and for you to make money. Like whose responsibility is it in this whole like system to say, oh, I need that trigger. That's a really interesting part of your flow. Can you somehow give me can I webhook into this? Can I get an API call? How do I get access to that piece? Like whose role is it in this whole piece? And what's the handoffs between different departments?
That's a great question. It's a team effort, I'd say. I'll take us for an example. So, as an agency, we don't have access to some very specific data for some of our clients. It makes sense for us not to have it. The less people that have this data access, the better. You always got to be careful with what you have. So in those cases, what we try and do is ask for, hey, just give us the high level details. These are the data points that you have. Don't give us any actual, user information, and let us go to town. From there, we have a team of strategists. I was trying to think of a better, funnier way to put it, but no, we have a team of strategists who we all get together with, have a little powwow, set aside, 1 to 2 hours and make sure, hey, what could we do with this data point? What, example data is there that we could go ahead and see, if this is even valuable as it is. Then we bring in our technical team, make sure that that's proven, and really just, it's an all hands on deck kind of thing. We want to make sure that, anyone who does touch the data or even see the data or think about the data or dream about it late at night, has a way that it can be leveraged. I know that that's not the best answer to the question though. Dre, looks like you have something.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it just comes down to strategy, and as long as you identify the different triggers that you need to build, I think the rest follows. All of these ESPs or CRMs that we've been talking about have just fantastic API documentation built out, and the way we usually process things is, we again strategize around what would the different triggers need to be with regards to your database, how your users are interacting with your company, with your SaaS, with your app, with your website, whatever the case may be. And then we send basically a detailed roll up of, okay, we want, let's say it's an app where you get subscribers to opt in and then they have to pay something, right? So we would want different triggers based on the different stages at which they are. We would be sending you the exact triggers that you should be sending where. For instance, if we're talking about Klaviyo, exact documentation. Obviously, we can't really step into your backend and figure or configure those triggers for you guys, but then we can provide vast documentation and advice on what to build and where it should go.
Sweet. That was awesome. Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
Guys,
So guys,
kind of to wrap up, I would love to just tell you that in the SaaS space, there's a lot of money to be made off of reoccurring businesses, and you know that's why you're in the business, right? Because you wanted a subscription type business. Otherwise, you would have been selling, I don't know, chips on Amazon. So it's really important to understand that with that idea, you need to not only nurture the initial discovery and the initial conversion of those leads, but then also nurture how lengthy their subscription to your product is, and then potentially figure out ways or best ways not only to limit the amount of churn that you see, but also reconvert, re-win back some of those churned customers. And I think these two last pieces of the puzzle would really be transformational for many of the businesses that you see. If you could, one, reconvert some of the older customers, and then two, make sure that whatever customers you do have stay with you for another couple of months, right? So I actually got this question, I think, the other day from a client that has a very similar setup, and they were asking me, what would you suggest would be the solution to extending our customers subscribed stage to 4 months? And the answer is kind of looking at your data, understanding what is the exact cutoff point, right? Let's say they fall off after 2 months. Now, the next step from that is to really analyze, first off, how do they interact with your company in those first 2 months? Are there any triggers that would force them to unsubscribe? And triggers usually come in the form of bad communication, bad customer support, the app having any faults that would happen within those initial couple of months. If we're talking about a game, the game finishing within those first couple of months, and you kind of growing to either too big to feel challenged about whatever's happening in the game, or the game genuinely finishing. And then you kind of understand, okay, 2 months is my cutoff point. How can I extend that? And you plan different flows, different messages around that 2-month period to make sure you get the next purchase. You don't try to go, for the home run with the first pass. You go those extra 10 yards. You grab those extra 10 yards, and you can figure out how do you grab the next 10 yards. That's usually the process you need to go through, because otherwise you're going to get into this kind of analysis paralysis situation where you aren't able to get the home run, but you need to still like you are doing things, but they're not necessarily getting you the home run. So you think you're doing bad things. It's not necessarily that. It's just that it takes kind of incremental steps to get to where you need to be. And data is definitely going to show you the way. It's just about kind of listening to it and building out the segments and really knowing who you're talking and what you're telling them at every single stage of the game. I honestly can't really tell you guys how often we have stepped into accounts that were losing paying subscribers up the wazoo, and we identified that exactly at around the stage when they were losing those clients. They basically had this influx of unnecessary information that was going to the subscribers, basically beating them into contention and making them unsubscribe. So that was a pretty easy fix in those cases, but it's not always as easy as that.
Oh, sweet. That was a great answer and a great bit. Cool. I think we're at time. So unless anyone's got any more questions, feel free to drop them in the next 30 seconds. We'll start wrapping up. Yeah, if you want to ever chat to Andre, I've dropped his email down below. Just drop him a line. There's a rumor going around that Code Crew are offering out free strategy audits and free plans. So you get your free email plan to map out what to do. I don't know. I heard it somewhere else.
Alex insisted, guys. I really bent his arm, but he wouldn't give. So everybody that's been on this podcast, please share or webinar, or even if you watch it, as a recording, please send us a screenshot so that we can prove you've watched it. More than happy to jump into the account with an analytics level access and run an audit. The audit will not only include things that we believe should be fixing in terms of making your email program more successful, but also, tips and tricks, different best practices, things that you might be missing on. And it's usually the slightest of things that people are missing on in order for their email program to be a lot more successful. I'm not even just saying, very often we find email programs that don't hyperlink their images or their buttons, and it's such an easy fix that's gonna take your click-through rate from 0.3% to 5.5%, and you've got a fixed email program right there. So again, reach out to us, free email audits to anybody requesting them, and then we can figure out next steps and how we can actually be able to help you guys if you are interested. But yeah, that's kind of our token of appreciation, Alex's token of appreciation. I'm a lot more Scroogey than he is, for you guys being here with us today.
Awesome. There we go. Thank you so much for attending, guys. We'll send the recording links out sometime early next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.